Everybody stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Teresa Santiago.
Robert Whitmore.
Craig Wagner. Okay, first on the agenda, we have a Corso Prospect Hill and Zoc Road lot line change.
Yeah.
How you doing? Yeah, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
stay up at the podium. You just state your name for us too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chad Cole. I'm here to represent myself and Mr. Joseph Corso Jr. And we're proposing a lot line change to remove property from his acreage that is adjacent to the rear of my property and add it to my existing property.
Do you have a,
I believe you got maps.
So initially, the discussion, full disclosure, I represent Mr. Cole. And I met with Joe Spano, who represents Mr. Corso. Initially, the discussion was Corso potentially doing a subdivision, breaking off the two lots kind of adjacent to Mr. Cole's property on the sides, and then transferring those newly created lots to Mr. Cole. Well, looking at the way that their parcels are, it made more sense simply to take the two lot lines from Corso's property, from Cole's property, basically move them to be parallel to the back line, and then transfer that acreage on both sides of what is currently Corso, what is currently Cole, from Corso to Cole. So that Corso's lot basically will end with a straight line at the bottom. Cole will end up having a wider lot because the two pieces on either side will be consolidated into the house, into the parcel on which his residence is located. So the map designates that, and we've prepared deeds to transfer those two side parcels, if you will, to Cole, as well as a deed transferring from Cole to Cole, consolidating the three parcels. And then we've created an additional Corso deed for the remaining deeds that will be left over. Slide behind.
so this is existing?
So this piece right here is Cole.
Yep.
Everything up there is Corso.
Okay.
So right now, Corso comes here and down, comes here and
I see.
over. So basically, we're taking that lot line, taking this line down this way, and then consolidating it so it all becomes Cole. Right. He also has an easement, just so you're aware. Mr. Corso has granted an easement so that Mr. Cole can access his property with Prospect Hill Road on the driveway, but also from over here along, basically along the power lines.
It's not closing the line.
No, if anything, it's making it more conforming. But the reason for doing it, frankly, as a lot line change is because as a general rule, this board will refer to the assessor. The assessor signs off on it, reports and maps and deeds and stuff. As I said, I represent Mr. Cole, so I've prepared all of the deeds for both parties. They're actually already signed by Mr. Corso. If this board approves this, then we'll add some information to the deeds in terms of the map numbers, dates, and things like that, and then we'll record all the deeds and bylaws.
So our action with this would be, since it doesn't look like there's impact on this, we wait for the public hearing.
Right, and then refer to the assessor for the process.
And we have to make a motion to refer it to the assessor. And then it's we would be also approval contingent on, deed.
Yeah, ordinarily you do the approval based on my review of the deeds. But frankly, I prepared them, they're good.
Okay. So, we can waive the public hearing. make
Waive a
motions.
public hearing, make motion to refer to the assessor.
Refer to the assessor.
So that the lot line change can go through.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Somebody like to make a motion to waive the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. A member of the board would like to make a motion to refer to the assessor for the lot line change. I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yep, take care.
Okay, number 2 on the agenda, Golden Basin, 443 Route 209. It's a site plan review.
Chairman and board members.
You don't mind just, if you could just state your name for us?
My name is Jian Hu with JH Architecture, representing this project 443 Route 209 project. That's the existing building was demoed last year. This is rebuilt based on previous existing footprint. Only one update. Oh, by the way, ground floor is a convenience store. Second floor is 2 units apartment for rental. So the only one update compared with last meeting was we propose new septic tank system, which is over 1,200 gallon septic tank using. If you're curious, use this brand system. So we're showing that in the set plan with close to existing septic tank each field area. You can see from the set plan located on the corner, left corner of the site. That's the only update.
Okay. Did you submit?
We did.
You did?
We did submit digital and hard copy also to Amanda.
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 Mr. Nosa, did you get everything?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Basically 5 comments. Did Amanda give you the July 24th letter?
No, I didn't miss it.
I have one copy. I don't know if you want to make copies.
You can use, I have comments, this copy. Just,
Do you want to make
John, you can do it.
Is that-
Just read them off, John. Just read them off. Just read them off.
I got
I have
it.
some
Oh,
sheets.
all right, okay. So the board needs one and whatever more copies you can make.
Sorry.
I got it July 3rd. That shows.
new tank and an Elgin field?
Yeah,
All new.
all new. That's the new system.
Do you have an extra copy of that, because I haven't seen that.
No, he wants to take a copy of it, I think.
Okay, I'm familiar with the Elgin system, so I don't, that's just a cut sheet.
So the old system that was there was no good?
We just proposed one anyways. It's
Want to put a new one in?
Yeah, we just want to, the owner prefer to have a new one, so.
Okay, sir, yeah.
So while Glenn's getting into those comments, comment one, plans have to be signed by the design professional. It looks as though the plans are signed, but we need original signatures when we're ready to approve this full-size drawings to scale. Right now it's 1 inch equals 25 feet, so I think these are reduced drawings, but we need full-size scale drawings.
No problem.
At least the one that we're gonna have on file with the town. I don't mind going to reduced drawings and electronic because it saves time and money, but the plan that goes to the planning board has to be full-size scale
No problem.
design. Comment two is just noting that, you know, as long as you're keeping to the original footprint building, that there's basically no issue. Comment three is just asking for some erosion sediment control. You're probably gonna need a stabilized construction entrance and silt fence around the building. Comment four is noting that, and it's a little tricky because we talked about this last time, but a DOT permit will be required if there's any alteration to the existing entrance on Route 208. First, I think they said there was going to be, then they said they were leaving it. So I'm not sure if there's any alterations proposed, but if there are, we need the DOT permit for that. I'm sorry, 209, sorry. So
Yeah,
208.
my understanding that's existing two exits, one on the front, two existing exit from the frontage, another one existing from the backyard. That was existing. We are not
You talking
proposing.
about from Grange Road?
I don't have that now, but from the backyard area.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
Grange Road.
So that's got nothing to do with DOT. There's how many entrances onto the state highway, onto 209?
209, two existing.
Two. And there's no plans to alter those entrances?
No.
Okay, at one point we were looking at shortening it, or we were, no? Okay. So if that's the case, then we do not need DOT permit
Thank you.
under comment number 4. Comment 5 pertains probably more towards building permit, but there has to be a fire separation between the two floors because there's a mixed use of the building. So that'll have to be addressed in your architectural plans at building permit. So that's just a general comment. And then I'm just gonna add in comment number 6, because I do see that you are proposing an Elgin system, leach field, and you do provide calculations, but I don't see a perk test done out there to verify that there's infiltration. Was a perk test done out there? Because if not, you're gonna have to do one.
Even new system, we need to test.
Well, this is a new system, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's
new
something-
systems have to be based on, you're assuming a percolation rate of 11 to 15 minutes, but I don't think it's based on any percolation test performed out in the field.
We did-
We
we-
did the test.
You did a perk
We
test?
did, we
Okay.
did last,
Please include that on the plan, sir.
no problem.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
Any comments from the board? So we have two actions, secret. At this point,
Well, you declare yourself the deed. Sketch on
will anybody make a motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 We can waive the Orange County, the review for the state road, the 239?
Yes.
There's no changes in the entrance.
Based on the it's based on the no change in the driveway entrances, but it's more importantly based on the contract in Orange County that they've waived their requirement to review certain types of plans in this pretty one.
Will a member of the board like to make a motion to waive the review of the 239 GML?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you have the,
Are we gonna do the public hearing?
oh, we have to schedule a public hearing.
Yes.
So that has to be,
Well, because you're waiving the 239, it doesn't really have to be anything, but I would recommend that you do it on August 23rd, as that'll give enough time for publication.
okay. Would the board like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing on the 23rd of August?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Number 3 on our agenda is New Century Film. Next, we have New Century, 517 Everson Drive, site plan review.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Ryan Fellenzer with Fellenzer Engineering. With me tonight, I have Mr. Joe Brunning with Fellenzer, Mr. Peter Lee with New Century Film, and Mr. Zach Kelson, counsel for the applicant. So since our last meeting, or since our, April 26th public hearing and subsequent June planning board meeting, New Century Film has been working diligently to address the comments generated by the public and received by the board. So since our last meeting in June, our team has provided the following correspondence to the board. This is just to give you guys an update on what we've supplied. The May 24th, 2023 response from Mr. Kelson. This is in response to the letter from Ruskin, Moscow, and Baltichek, dated April 25th. We have a June 26th, 2023 response to HydroQuest letter from our office. Their letter was dated April 26th, and that included in our response a Miller hydrological report regarding the previously approved B1 hotel for aquifer testing data. And Mr. Stephen Mafia, excuse me, I forgot to introduce Mr. Mafia. Stephen Mafia is with us tonight, too, our traffic consultant. And his response letter to the Simcoe letter was attached to that as well. We also supplied a July 21, 2023 response to the Orange County Planning Department. That's one of the comments I left on your desk, which included a SHPO approval letter, so we do have a SHPO approval. And the letter from the Planning Department also requested renderings, so we decided to bring those renderings to you tonight. And lastly, the July 26th, which was today, response from Mr. Kelson to written comments regarding the potential deed restrictions that was submitted by a citizen. So to date, just to recap, for our project and application, what we've done, we provided a traffic study, which came back with no negative impact to level of service. We've done an endangered species report, which is no negative impacts to endangered species on site. We have a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Assessment stating no further action required. We have our proposed site lighting plan that has LED fixtures that are nighttime friendly and compliant to town zoning. We've provided a stormwater pollution prevention plan. We are currently working with DEC on establishing effluent limits for our wastewater treatment plant so we can obtain a speedies permit. We did a phase 1A and 1B archaeological survey, which I previously mentioned, resulted in SHPO approval, and the visual renderings, which we brought tonight. So the goal of these studies was to demonstrate to the board and the public that these improvements will not have a significant environmental impact within the community. And I think with the help of our engineering and legal experts and our team, I believe we have satisfied this requirement. And tonight we're here to answer any other questions or concern that the board may have since our previous meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so with regards to the letter from Mr. Kelson, I will defer that to Glenn as it pertains to deed restrictions potentially and or lack thereof. So I'm not going to offer any comments regarding that. We did receive the response letter to county planning comments, and Al had put together a letter essentially saying, dated July 24th, that this correspondence should be sent to the county planning department if the planning board concurs. Basically, I don't think they have any objection to what's been requested in the county review letter, although a lot of it has yet to be completed, I think, even though there was no exception taken. So that was the July 24th letter. With regards to the traffic study, has the county and or the DOT reviewed the traffic study?
I'm not sure they've been sent
Okay,
the traffic study. It's in their queue for review.
Okay, 'cause
We have not
I'm-
received any comments as of yet.
I'm very anxious to find out if they concur with the traffic study. Basically shows there's no change of level of service, correct?
Correct?
Okay, so as the village, as the town engineer, I need to have some sort of correspondence from them saying that they agree, because if they don't agree, that changes the impacts potentially to traffic. So I'm very concerned about, and I know it's been months,
Yeah.
have you tried to contact them to
Yes.
find out where they stand with
We've
regards
got
to-
multiple phone calls into them and emails. We haven't
Okay.
received anything back yet.
Okay. Maybe you can send an email to Al with who the contacts are, so maybe we can follow up too,
Sure.
because I really want to make sure that the county and the DOT are on board with everything.
Sure.
With regards to the hydrologic study, so, well, I did briefly look at this report. This is BW1, which shows basically a lot of test data, or the 72-hour pump test.
Right, there's a lot of data.
So, but you're required to have 2 wells, correct?
Correct.
A minimum of 2. Are you
Correct.
proposing 4?
So-
So the drawing shows B1, BW1, BW2, and then a studio and an apartment well.
So those 2 are existing, and there's 2 new drilled wells on site.
2 new drill wells,
Correct. There's 4
BW1 and
total.
BW2.
Correct.
So has the report been done on BW2 yet, or just BW1?
No, so just on BW1, BW2 was done as a monitoring well. And this was just for the hotel that was previously approved. So
Okay.
this isn't done at a rate for the proposed flows that we are proposing on our site. We still will need to do that for Department of Health, for public water supply. What it was submitted for was just because, in response to that hydro request letter, it was suggested to provide some data, any existing data on the site on the aquifers, which we had available, so I submitted that.
Because you're gonna have to have, you can correct me if I'm wrong, with the largest producing well out of service, the backup well has to be capable of providing average daily flow, or maximum daily flow, I forget which. So, I mean, do you guys have that, or is that still in the works?
No, that's still in the works. We still need to provide data for that, for the new flows
Okay.
of those wells. This was just one which we plan to do. We're working on public
I'm
water
not
supply
going to say
application.
that we can't make a secret determination until we have health department approval, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that we should have the data that needs to go to the health department there so that we can verify that we have the backup well, we have adequate water. What is your average daily demand for the whole site? Do you
Yeah, it's 49,000 gallons per day.
49,000 gallons per day,
Correct.
which is how many gallons per minute?
It's 30 GPM.
Okay. So we need 2 wells that can verify they have 72-hour pump tests to meet that minimum, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I don't think we're at that point yet, are we?
No, we haven't done that testing, but we do have testing that we've done for previous approval, which was at approximately 12 GPM. So it was, again, it's in the works. We plan on doing that for Department of Health. We need it for their approval. I feel, given the data that we do have for the B1 approval, that we can satisfy the requirement, given all that data that is provided. Now, we will have to confirm that with testing, but I did want to, again, just provide existing data in response to that letter.
Okay, switching to the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Have you obtained a stormwater speedies coverage from the DEC?
It's still under review, DEC.
Okay, because this is not an MS4 town, correct? Am I right? Okay, so you can go directly, you do not need the I mean, we'll review it concurrently.
Yeah.
But you don't need to wait on us to go to the DEC to get coverage.
We have not. We've submitted to the DEC. They do have it.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're not requesting a 60-day review, it's, okay, because it's usually 5-day business coverage.
Right. So, yeah, again, we haven't received any technical comments on the SWIP.
Okay. So, do you know when you submitted to them?
Yeah, it would have been early March.
Okay, because in an MS4 town, non-MS4 town, when you submit and you're not requesting a variance or the 60-day review, you should have received the stormwater speedies coverage letter within 2 weeks or 5 business days. And you have not received that?
No, we have not.
I was just suggesting, Mr. Felonzo, that perhaps you could provide the contact information for the person who sent
Sure.
the SWIP, and then that way the town can also try to push them for a response.
Be happy to do that.
So in your email to Fusco Engineering, if you could include the contact for this stormwater speedies as well. We can follow up because, these are involved agencies in this whole process, and I want to make sure that they get, at least for review, what they're required to have.
Right.
And then my last comment is a general comment that pertains to the status of the wastewater treatment plant. So is that, where does that stand? Is that under design?
That is under design. We have Delaware Engineering working on that. They are currently coordinating with the Delaware River Basin Authority and DEC on establishing those effluent limits, and they're in the middle of the design of the treatment plant.
Okay, is this a tertiary plant or secondary?
It's going to be a surface discharge tertiary sand filter, or not sand filter, but a MBR design, biological reactor design.
And the firm handling that is Delaware?
Delaware Engineering, Mr. Ayala.
That's the only comments I have at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Vlonsky?
So I've read both Mr. Zeller's letter and Mr. Kelson's response. With the caveat that Mr. Kelson's response, basically I got when I arrived at the meeting, so I haven't been able to verify the various citations in the meeting. Sorry, I'm not challenging it.
No, no,
I mean, the fact of the matter is that assuming that the cases that he cites say what he says they say, which I have no reason to believe that they don't. The fact of the matter is, my knee-jerk reaction would be to say that a private restriction is a private restriction. If the Nature Conservancy or some other entity believes that there's a deed restriction in their favor, they're concerned about this plan, then they can institute something, not with this board. They can institute something to try to enforce that restriction. That would not be something that this board, unless it's a restriction imposed by this board previously, I'm not aware of any, or unless it is a restriction that candidly the engineering that is happening suggests should be imposed by the planning board pursuant to seeker as part of your environmental review and approval authority. That would be the only way you can get involved in that. With regard to a restricted covenant between an earlier owner or grantor of the property and the current owner or prior owners, I
Actually,
think
more than two prior owners back.
yeah, but I don't think the planning board is the enforcement agency regardless.
If I could just add to what Mr. Pulaski said, and I know you didn't see it in advance, so I apologize for not getting to it in advance. But I think you've accurately stated what I said in the letter, but there's a caveat to that. If you look at the last sentence of the letter, and I said, notwithstanding the fact that we don't think that the planning board has the power, I think the Court of Appeals has said, you know, the power to deal with those restrictive covenants, we looked at them, they don't affect the property. So it really is moot, it's a moot issue. And I would suggest that, and we actually did have a meeting, we went through it in detail, I mean, for several hours. Most of these restrictions affect stuff on the other side of the road, and have nothing to do with our property, other than don't put toxic chemicals in the river, which is, I'm sorry, this is a legal term, duh. It doesn't really have anything to do with us. And
I actually have an independent recollection from an earlier application that didn't go forward about an argument about restrictive covenants affecting the other side of Neversink Drive.
Right. There's a bunch of different parcels that were subject to that, and then a secondary one which purported to clarify it, but it really didn't. But we mapped them out, we talked to Bob Ewald, we went through it. It doesn't affect us at all, other than don't pollute the river, which is, again, that's a rhetorical question and a rhetorical answer. Of course, we're not going to do that. And the DEC wouldn't let us do it, and you're not going to let us do it. But it has nothing to really do with those restrictive covenants. So, in any event, I just wanted to clarify that the last sentence basically says, even if you think it does apply, it doesn't apply.
I actually read that sentence, but.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, so, I mean, I think at this juncture, there are a bunch of things that have to be done before you can take official action. Not the least of which is, I heard Mr. Nosek say that he'd really like to hear something from DOT with regard to the traffic study. It sounds like we need to hear something from the DEC relative to the storm water protection
Speak up a
plan.
little bit.
Sorry?
Can you speak up a little bit? We can't.
Sure.
Thank you.
I don't get told to do that much.
Glenn, use your court voice.
What's that?
Use
Yeah,
your court
my
voice. We don't need no microphones.
Well, use the microphone, yeah.
What I would indicate to the board is that the engineer, your consultant has indicated that we should hear something from the Department of Transportation relative to the traffic study. And also, we should hear something from the Department of Environmental Conservation relative to the stormwater prevention plan, basically before you take action. Those are things that we just need to verify that the agencies that arguably have more authority than we do say they're okay before you start doing any further review.
If I could just address one of the things you said, I don't necessarily disagree with you with respect to the traffic study, but with respect to the speedies issue, it is common practice, and again, I don't think it's going to change the outcome at this point. It's common practice to have an approval if one was granted, subject to receiving those speedies permits, and it's routinely, that's how it's done. This town may do it a little differently, and your engineer, and you may ask for it to be done differently, but I think the speedies permit is less of an issue, in my opinion, because we can't operate, we can't get permits, and we can't get, even if we get a conditional approval down the line, without that speedies permit, we can't go anywhere. So I just mentioned that.
No, I agree with that, but because those were the two primary topics that the engineer addressed, and those are the two topics where we've asked for your contacts, so that we can try to get them to expedite. Not that they necessarily will, obviously, but we can try. I mean, if we had the traffic information and it's borne out, and DEC was taking longer, it might very well be that the board would consider something with a condition of approval. But at this point, we're not there.
There's two speedy permits that are in play here, just to confuse the public. There's the speedies permit for the wastewater discharge and the stormwater construction speedies permit. The stormwater construction speedies permit, if they've submitted it and they're not asking for any waivers, either the DEC lost it because 5 days later to 2 weeks later, you get your stormwater coverage letter from the DEC, and you do not need this town's MS, this is not an MS4 town, so you do not need our consent in order to process it with the DEC like you do in an MS4 town. So that should be readily available if they've already sent their notice of intent, their ENOI with their completed SWIP up to the DEC. So.
Well, the other thing I would say is if we can, we'll certainly supply the information you've requested, and I appreciate that you're helping us expedite a response, which is really, you're not asking for an answer, a particular answer, but an expedited response. But we would just ask that the board consider favorably moving forward, I assume the next meeting, if we can supply that information to you either way.
You can't do anything anyway. What's the rush?
So there's no action tonight
Correct.
on the application?
Yep, so we'll get that provided information for you.
So we would be on the agenda for the next meeting, just to clarify, because I know we had an issue with somebody having COVID last time, that we missed a work session. Can we get into a work session before the next meeting, or?
Unfortunately, our planning board secretary is not here tonight, so I don't know what is currently scheduled on the next agenda, which would be 2 weeks out. And I don't know if that would be enough time. Well, actually, based on what John said, it probably would be enough time to get something from DEC. But whether it would be enough time to get something from DOT, I don't know.
When would the next,
Well, it's the second and fourth Wednesday.
Right, and I won't be here the second Wednesday, but that's okay. I think you don't need me anyway.
I won't be here the fourth Wednesday, so we're even.
Well, I'll cover for you.
We'll figure that out.
Figure that.
The stormwater speedies coverage letter, if they have submitted their ENOI, is 5 business days, they have it. If we can get some sort of correspondence, is the county department of public works involved with this too? Because it's a county road, is there a county road that adjoins this, or is it?
Yes, there is.
state highway?
Neversink Drive is county.
I mean, we could have work session after work session after work session, but if we can resolve those 2 items, as far as I'm concerned, we're in a position to move forward with secret.
Right, understood. Well, the question is.
So actually, can I just ask Mr. Talmazer, did you send the traffic study to both New York State DOT and Orange County?
Yes, both. Both
Okay.
entities, hard copies and digital.
Excellent.
Yep.
So I would suggest that, again, send us both of those contact people, and we'll try to get it expedited, because if we can get that information from them, you've got County Road, Neversink Drive, and you've got the State Highway 209, so
Right.
we'd be in a position to do something.
And if you can get that contact information, I'll follow up personally and say, listen, you guys want to move forward, and we haven't heard anything, and they've had it for a few months now.
Yeah, correct. Yep. All right, no problem, we'll do that.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
So just to clarify, so far as being on the agenda, if we do have the answer to those 2 issues,
I would say notify Amanda, make sure the board has it.
and we'll be on for the next.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes from July 12th, 2023. Would you like to make a motion?
I'll make, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
Who seconded that, I'm sorry? When was spoken?
First.
Thank you, Teresa, for backing me on my sway out.
So no sack,
Oh, good, thank you.
All right. No?
Yes.
Somebody from the board make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.